Hello everybody, it's Hater. Welcome back to another Destiny 2 build video, and we're going to talk about probably the most broken Void 3.0 Warlock build you can run at this given time. So without any further delay, if you guys enjoy the video, give it a like, leave a comment down in the comment section what you guys think about the build, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me over at my Twitch, and there will be a dim loadout link down in the description. To break down what makes this build so overpowered, we're using the brand new exotic boots, Secant Filament. If you guys are interested in getting them for yourselves, you get a pair for free when completing the legendary version of the new campaign, or you can get it from RNG in higher tier lost sectors. Their exotic perk Devouring Rift reads, casting an Empowering Rift will grant you Devour. Damage dealt by you and your allies from within your Empowering Rift will disrupt champions. The key thing here, guys, is that these boots basically give Devour on demand and then incentivizes aggressive play with the 20% damage bonus from Empowering Rift. To synergize with it, Feed the Void on Void 3.0 Voidwalker is going to allow us to maintain Devour much more often by granting Devour whenever we get kills with our Void abilities. Along with it, since the build is going to be focused around our Rift, Child of the Old Gods will be our main tool of getting our Rift back, because when we use our Empowering Rift, a Child of the Old Gods, or Void Buddy we'll call it, will spawn next to us. When we hit an enemy while this is active, it will send the Void Buddy to the enemy's location and begin siphoning energy, applying the weakened effect in the process. And because we're using Empowering Rift, enemies that are being siphoned from the Void Buddy are going to heal us, and then after they die, it will refund Rift energy. A lot of times, almost 9 times out of 10, sending the Buddy into a huge pack of enemies will completely refund the Empowering Rift. But 9 times is still not all the time. We're looking to have near constant uptime, so the icing on top are Elemental Wells and Energy Refund mods. With everything together, it allows me to pop a Rift, gain Devour, a 20% damage increase, send the Void Buddy out, and gain my Rift just to do it all over again. Moving on over to the Voidwalker subclass itself, let's talk about how we're going to set up the subclass. When it comes to supers, of the 3 that we have, the best option of choosing is Nova Bomb Cataclysm. This is going to give us the best single target damage overall, and will synergize really well with the new artifact mod we're using in this build called Devouring Depths, increasing our Void super damage by 30% whenever we're low on HP or have the Devour buff active. This means that when we throw the Nova Bomb at a boss like Kali, for example, the base damage of the Nova Bomb is going to deal 109,992. Then when we lay an Empowering Rift to gain Devour and throw the Nova Bomb, it's going to deal the 30% increased damage of 142,877. Something that I want to keep in mind though is that this is without any kind of global debuff or empowering buff that increase the damage even further. Moving on over to the aspects and fragments, as I stated before, we're going to be using Feed the Void and Child of the Old Gods. For the fragments though, this is where it gets interesting, because you guys can pretty much use whatever fragment that you enjoy, but if I could recommend some of them, these are the ones that I personally like using. Starting off with Echo of Expulsion, this will basically allow all of my Void abilities to cause targets to explode. So this goes for the Child of the Old Gods, our Vortex Grenade, Pocket Singularity, and the Nova Bomb. Next up is going to be Echo of Undermining, and this is going to cause all Void grenades to apply the weakened effect, making the enemies affected take 15% more damage. This is really useful when I pair this with the Vortex Grenade, because I can throw it at a pack of enemies, pull them all together, deal more damage and cause them to explode, or I can throw it on a boss and deal more damage with my heavy weapons or my Nova Bomb. For the next fragment, it's going to be Echo of Remnant. This is going to allow our grenades to last longer overall, meaning our grenade is going to be dealing more damage overall, and it's going to be keeping Echo of Undermining up more often. For the fourth and final fragment that I use, it is Echo of Persistence. making void buffs applied to me, invisibility, overshield, and devour last longer overall. This is mostly going to be used for devour, and with it, it's going to make devour's timer last upwards to 22 seconds. But as I stated before, guys, these are just the fragments that I use. If you want to change them up for whatever your build is, feel free to do so. Now that we've gone over what your subclass should look like, let's get into the mods that make the build. Start things off, guys. For the armor energy, you guys are going to need at least 1 piece of armor solar, 2 pieces of armor void, and 1 piece stasis. Starting off at my helmet, I have it as solar, and I'm using bountiful wells at the end. This is going to allow all of our elemental well mods that create an elemental well stack on top of themselves and create 1 additional well per mod equipped. But something that it doesn't state is that you only need 1 mod to create the extra well. So in the case of this build, I'm using Elemental Ordnance and Reaping Wellmaker, and I'm only using 1 of each, meaning that they'll create 2 elemental wells each time that they proc. Next to Bountiful Wells though, I'm using 2 Ashes to Assets so that I gain bonus super energy every time I get kills with my grenade. Moving on over to the arms, I have these as Void, and I'm using Reaping Wellmaker at the end of it. What it does is, after activating our class ability, our next weapon Final Blow is going to spawn a Void Elemental Well. And because we're using Bountiful Wells, as I stated earlier, this is going to create 2 Void Elemental Wells instead of 1. Next to it though, I'm using 2 Bolstering Detonations so that every time we hit enemies with grenades, it will give us class ability energy back. The other thing that I could do in this armor slot is if I need to deal with champions, something we need to keep in mind is that Secant Filament are going to be able to overload champions already. So in the case of champions where overloads are present, we only need to change out 1 of the Bolstering Detonations. Then that means there's only 1 problem left with it. What if there are both unstoppable champions and anti-barriers at the same time? Something that we could do as a few options is use the Artifice Armor from Master Grasp of Avarice and just use the end slot for your champion mods, or use a weapon that intrinsically deals with champions. An easy option for anti-barrier champions are the Ariana's Vow and the Lament Sword. Moving on over to the chest piece, I also have this as Void, and I'm using Well of Tenacity at the end of it, so picking up a Void Elemental Well will give me 5 seconds of 50% damage resistance. Next to it though, I have a Void Resistance mod and the new Thermoshock Plating, which reduces incoming solar and arc damage at the same time, meaning I have 25% damage resistance to all 3 elements. Next up over at the Secant Filaments, I have these as stasis, and I'm using Elemental Time Dilation at the end of it. This is going to allow us to also stack multiple time-based elemental well mods on top of themselves, increasing the duration based on how many are equipped. And just like Bountiful Wells from earlier, this is going to work the exact same way where you only need 1 copy of the mod to increase the benefit. In this build though, we're using Well of Tenacity, meaning that with 1 copy equipped, it's going to increase the 5-second duration to 8 seconds. Next to it though, I'm using both the Rocket Launcher and Glaive Artifact Scavenger. Finally, over at my Bond, I have it as Solar, but you could have it as anything that you want. I'm using Elemental Ordnance at the end, so getting kills with my grenade will create a Void Elemental Well, and because we're using Bountiful Wells from earlier, it's going to create 2 instead of 1. Then I'm using Overload Grenades next to it, so my Void Grenades will also disrupt Overload champions on top of Secant Filaments. Then finally, I'm using Devouring Depths next to it, so my Void Super deals 30% more damage when Devour is active or I'm low on HP. Overall though guys, that is going to be the build for today's video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm going to catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.